Welcome back to the Aces Let's Do It podcast. I am your host, Dominic Archer, and today's episode is all about the 2022 NFL Draft. In this video, we'll be talking about my 2022 mock draft 1.0 on the date I'm recording this. It's December 1st, so there's still a lot of football to be played for both the college and professional ranks, I should say. But right now, we're starting to see some very good ideas of where teams are going to draft and, who are the best players in college football right now and that will be coming to the NFL next season. So let's get right into it. Not a whole lot to talk about here at the top, but there's a little controversy of who should be the number one overall pick. For me, I've got Detroit selecting Kayvon Thibodeaux, the excellent edge from the University of Oregon. I made a video on him earlier, and he is just the best player in the draft. He converts speed to power very effectively. No one can block him, it seems like. He can do literally everything. My player comp for him was Julius Peppers when he came out all those years ago. An athletic freak with size, speed, strength, everything you want from the position. And Kayvon Thibodeaux definitely has it. Kayvon is the exact player that Detroit wants to build around, right? They went out and drafted Penei Sewell 7th overall last year. And to go ahead and get a guy with this dominant stretch, I think that is going to allow them to be one of the more physical teams in the trenches in the NFL, and I think there's no better pick than the edge rusher from Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeaux. Now, this is where a little controversy comes in. My number 2 pick in this draft from Houston is a little controversy. Aiden Hutchinson, 6'6", 265, is my projected pick going to Houston. He is everything that you want in an edge rusher. He's got power, he's got speed, he's got the size. The reason why there's a little controversy is because after the Ohio State-Michigan game, where Aiden had over 3 sacks, a lot of people started wondering, you know what, maybe this Aiden Hutchinson kid is better than Kayvon Thibodeaux. And I think, for me, it's almost 1A, 1B. My entire, this entire process, I've thought that Kayvon has been the number 1 player, and I'm sticking with that, and he's not showing any signs of stopping. So I don't think my number 1 pick will change all year round, no matter who drafts number 1. I think Kayvon is going to be the player, but Aiden Hutchinson has a case to be the number 1 overall pick. He's very good. He is Michigan's single season sack leader with I think 13 that he got this past weekend against Ohio State. So he's a very good player, and Houston has a really good track record of going out and getting these high edge rushers. They drafted Mario Williams a few years ago, and he turned out to be a very good pro. And say what you will about Jadeveon Clowney, but I think he's been a serviceable player in the league, and he definitely had his ups and downs as a Houston Texan. So I think you go out and get a guy like this, Aiden Hutchinson, to solidify your defensive front and get some much-needed talent on that defensive line, because it sure is lacking. And I'm excited to see Aiden Hutchinson play. He's a no-quit kind of guy. He's kind of like Max Crosby, where he will never stop getting to the quarterback. And I think that's a redeeming quality that will follow him for his entire career, and I think he's going to be a very good pro moving forward. Next up is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I have them selecting Alabama tackle Evan Neal. Neal stands in at 6'7", 350 pounds, but man, he is really agile for his size, and I think getting him on Trevor Lawrence's blind side is going to help a ton in Trevor Lawrence's development. We've seen the flashes this year, but if you want to really make this guy a top 10 quarterback, you need to go out and get him a really good left tackle. And Evan Neal has some of the best technique in all of college football. He could come in and be a stalwart at left tackle, and I think he is one of the best can't miss prospects in this draft. Kayvon, Aiden Hutchinson, and Evan Neal are all can't miss prospects. I think these guys are really going to be good starters. I think all 3 of these guys have a chance to play 10 years because they're that good. And you don't want the Joe Burrow experience here in Jacksonville where, Joe Burrow had a poor offensive line. He comes in as a rookie, tears his ACL, and then, we don't get to see him for the rest of the year. But all signs are good for Trevor Lawrence. So if you go out and get him a stud tackle like this, everything's going to be A-OK for the stud quarterback from Clemson. Following the Jacksonville Jaguars, we have the New York Jets. They really are struggling on the back end of the defense. Marcus May is a really good safety, but right now he's injured, and I don't think he's coming back. So I have them taking stud corner from LSU, Derek Stingley Jr. They don't have a number one corner. They went out and spent a bunch of money on Carl Lawson, and he goes down relatively early in camp. They have a couple of nice pieces on that defense, C.J. Mosley, Quinnen Williams. I mean, there is some talent on this team. They just need somebody on the back end to really solidify and slow down the game. And Derek Stingley Jr., we've been talking about him a lot for a few years, and he is the best corner in this class, and I have the Jets going out and taking him. And then with their second first-round pick, because as it stands right now, New York is going to have 4 first-round picks in a row, the Jets with 2, and then the Giants with 2 immediately from their trade with Chicago. And with the Jets' second first-round pick, I have them taking Ohio State wide receiver Chris Olave. Now, Garrett Wilson, I think, has the higher floor than Chris Olave, but Mike LaFleur wants to spread the field and really try and get some big plays down the field. And Corey Davis, while he is a serviceable wide receiver, he's not that big play threat. If you bring in Chris Olave for a young quarterback that's been struggling and Zach Wilson, he is going to allow him to grow as a quarterback and really have a successful career here in New York. Now, the other team that plays in New York, the New York Giants, I have them taking center Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa. This guy graded out as the best center by PFF in the last, 7 years. He was PFF's Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, and that's a lot to say about a guy who wins the award when C.J. Stroud has been playing out of his mind. I really like this pick because he gives you the flexibility to move him to guard because they traded for Billy Price and they want to get as much out of him as they can. And if you bring him in, you actually give New York a solid offensive line to see what you have with Daniel Jones, and then following the 2022 season, then you can evaluate and think if you need another quarterback. Because I really do think there is something there with Daniel Jones, and give him a solid offensive line, and I think he's going to prove some worth. And then with their second first-round pick, I have them taking corner from Clemson, Andrew Booth. He is 6'2", 200. He gives them a bigger corner to be on the outside. And when you take a look at their depth chart, they have James Bradbury, who they're going to be paying a lot of money to next season, over $20 million. He's really good. Jabril Peppers, he's a really good do-it-all safety. Adoree Jackson is really solid, but I think you can get a little bit better there. Logan Ryan, they're paying him a lot of money, but I think he's a little bit older, and if you can play him in the slot, you might get away with it. There's some young pieces on this back end, but Derek Stingley Jr. is gone, and I think they really need corner bad. And Booth is a really good player, and he gives us some size on the outside because Adoree Jackson, kind of that nickel guy, and same with Logan Ryan. Those two guys can't play the outside, so you have Bradbury and Booth on the outside. That's the start of a very good secondary for New York. And with the 8th overall pick, I have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting George Karlaftis, the edge from Purdue. He's really powerful, and they're going to be losing Brandon Graham to retirement this year. So you bring in another guy who is the similar player, that wide body 3 technique. He's allowed them to get inside and really rush the passer and create a lot of havoc on that inside that already has Fletcher Cox and a few other some really good guys, Javon Hargrave as well. So you bring him in, that's going to provide them a lot of pass rush inside. And then with their 9th overall pick, I have them selecting Drake London, wide receiver from USC. I know that they've drafted a wide receiver in every single first round for the last 3 years, but I think this could be a really good pick for them. Drake London stands in about 6'3", 235 pounds. He's probably going to run 4.5, but he gives Jalen Hurts a really, big target. Jalen Hurts isn't the most accurate quarterback, so if you get a guy this big and this physical, he gives you a wide net to cast to just throw the ball up, and he's probably going to make the play. And so you have Devontae Smith, who's a really, really good wide receiver and a budding star. Jalen Reagor, your deep threat, and now your, intermediate guy, Drake London, who can go over the middle and really take those hits. And I really like that fit in Philadelphia. Now, let's get into the number 10 overall pick. And I have the first quarterback going off the board. I have Ole Miss quarterback Matt Corral going to Carolina. Cam Newton has not played great, and neither has Sam Darnold, and neither has P.J. Walker. Carolina has a really good defense, and you can't just let it go to waste. And I think Joe Brady is going to stay another year. You bring in his guy, Matt Corral. I know they never worked together, but if they go ahead and get this guy, Joe Brady is going to be one of the reasons why. I think he can mold him into a Joe Burrow type. He's not the biggest arm quarterback, but he's athletic enough to get the job done. And I think this could be a game changer for Carolina. They have a couple of good playmakers on the outside. Obviously, they have Christian McCaffrey, a solid offensive line. This team has all the makings to be a really good team. All they need is the quarterback. I mean, a lot of teams say that, but if you go ahead and get this guy, Matt Corral, he could be, a top 12, top 10 quarterback in this league with the right offense. And I think his fit is in Carolina. Moving on to the 11th pick, the Atlanta Falcons selecting Garrett Wilson, arguably the best wide receiver in this draft class. He's from Ohio State. I think Garrett Wilson is going to be the immediate best player, at least one of the best players in this draft. I think he has great hands. He's a great route runner. He understands football. And while Chris Olave may have a little bit more potential than Garrett Wilson, I think Garrett Wilson is going to be a great complement to Calvin Ridley. They're kind of similar players, but Calvin Ridley is a more big play guy, and Garrett Wilson is just more that sure-handed underneath guy that if you throw it his way, he's going to contend on the ball. And Atlanta needs some playmakers right now. The situation with Calvin Ridley and his mental health, we don't know if he's going to come back anytime soon. So Matt Ryan's not getting any younger. They're paying him a lot of money. You could go quarterback in this spot, but I think getting weapons for your future quarterback is more important now than having a depleted wide receiver core and a rookie quarterback. So that's why I'm going Garrett Wilson here, wide receiver from Ohio State, to the Atlanta Falcons. Coming in 12th overall, I have the Minnesota Vikings selecting Notre Dame safety Kyle Hamilton. If he hadn't gotten injured, he'd be a top 5 pick in this draft, and he still might be a top 5 pick, but if he falls to number 12, Mike Zimmer is going to be licking his chops because Minnesota knows how to draft Notre Dame safeties such as Harrison Smith. If you draft Kyle Hamilton, that allows Harrison Smith to play more inside the box, and then their linebacking core is already great with Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks, and now you just add Harrison Smith to that mold. This could be a very dangerous defense if the Vikings can get their hands on Kyle Hamilton. It'll be really hard, but I think there's a shot that they can get him. Then moving to number 13th overall, the second quarterback off the board going to New Orleans is Pittsburgh quarterback Kenny Pickett. When I look at Kenny Pickett, I think he's a first-round quarterback. A lot of people are kind of on that fringe. Is he, isn't he? I think he is. And, he has had a really good senior season. But things I take away from him, he's not the best athlete. He can get around and make some plays outside the pocket. He doesn't have the greatest arm. But I think what allows Kenny Pickett to really be successful is his processor. He understands football. He knows where he needs to go with the ball. He's a veteran guy. He's going to bring leadership. And all of those things are the same thing that Drew Brees brought to this offense. As Drew Brees got older, his arm strength wasn't there, and they really had to go underneath and couldn't push the ball down the field. And now that if they go ahead and get Kenny Pickett, I think he's going to play very similar to Drew Brees, except Kenny Pickett could drive the ball downfield. It's not going to be, 70 yards through the air Josh Allen style, but he can get it 40, 45-ish. I think he's going to be a really good player, and 13th overall might be a little high for him, but I think New Orleans would be willing to take a shot on the Pittsburgh Panther. Now with Philadelphia's third first-round pick, I have them selecting Florida corner Kaiir Elam. Outside of Big Play Slay and Avonte Maddox, that really don't have anything in that cornerback room. Avonte Maddox, more that slot guy. Darius Slay is a really good outside corner. You bring in Kaiir Elam, he allows you to have 2 outside corners and a nickel guy, and just make this defense really good. There's some solid pieces, as we noted earlier, but I think getting a corner, whoever it is, just getting a corner in the spot who can play on the outside will be very good for Philadelphia. Then with the 15th overall pick, I have the Cleveland Browns selecting Arkansas wide receiver Treylon Burks. He's a big body guy who's that red zone threat. You can just throw it up to him. And I think wide receiver is a big need for Cleveland. Obviously, the whole debacle with Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry isn't getting younger. So you bring in this big body guy that allows Baker Mayfield to chuck it deep in the end zone, and he's going to make some plays. He's going to run 4.4, 4.45. I think this guy's going to be one of the best athletes on Cleveland, and I'm excited to see what Cleveland can do with a wide receiver. Then moving over to number 16th, Cleveland's division foe, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them taking interior offensive lineman Kenyon Green from Texas A&M, one of the best guards in this draft. The Steelers really goofed up by cutting David DeCastro, one of the best guards in football, period. Big Ben, he's on the way out. I know you could go quarterback in this spot, but I think solidifying that offensive line first before going out and getting a quarterback is Pittsburgh's number one need. And Kylan Green, he is just an absolute mauler inside, and I think he's going to be a really good player for years to come. And with the 17th overall pick, I have Liberty quarterback Malik Willis going to the Denver Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater is a great, no pun intended, bridge quarterback. Just to get to another guy. I think Drew Lock's time in Denver is done. They need to go out and get somebody who is electric, and Malik Willis is one of the best athletes in this draft all around. He's got a great arm. He's got great speed. My player comp to him is Lamar Jackson. They play both similar styles. They run a lot, and both are extreme athletes. And I think Malik Willis is one of the best athletes in this draft. I have him going to Denver. Then with the 18th overall pick, I have Jahan Dotson heading over to Las Vegas. The whole debacle with Henry Ruggs, and he should be in jail, rightfully so, but he brought them a big play element to their offense that they're just now missing. And Derek Carr needs that big play threat to really be effective. And Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver from Penn State, he is an electric playmaker. And I think this is a match made in heaven for Derek Carr and Jahan Dotson. He's going to be his best friend. And then, number 19th overall, the Washington football team comes in and drafts Sam Howell, quarterback from North Carolina. Now, this one should have an asterisk next to it. I think Sam Howell should go back to school another year. But if he decides to come out, Washington could get an upgrade at quarterback by basically drafting Tyler Heinicke, but Tyler Heinicke with some upside. I think him and Sam Howell both play similar types of football where they just want to chuck the ball down deep and really be a gunslinger, kind of like Brett Favre, do all these kind of things. And Sam Howell plays to that, and I think he can just be a better version of Tyler Heinicke. They also have some really good weapons over there with Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson. So this gives Washington a quarterback to build around for the future. Then coming in at number 20th overall, the Los Angeles Chargers drafting the big fella, Jordan Davis, interior defensive lineman from Georgia. One of the problems that Los Angeles Chargers have had all year is that they have a tough time stopping the run. So how do you fix that? You get a huge human being to fill those gaps, and Jordan Davis will come in and stop the run immediately. He also gives you a little pass rushing upside. So Jordan Davis, while he is an excellent run stopper, and run stoppers generally don't go in the first round, I think this guy is just such a great talent. He's almost like Vita Vea in ways that he can just disrupt teams' running games, and I think he will be an excellent addition to Brandon Staley and the Los Angeles Chargers. Then at number 21 overall, I have the Miami Dolphins selecting Ikem Ekwonu, the interior offensive lineman from North Carolina State. Tua's been playing a lot of solid football down the stretch, and he's starting to grow as a player. We're starting to see an actual healthy Tua now, and I think adding to that offensive line is going to help him tremendously. They've already kicked Austin Jackson inside to guard. They have Robert Hunt. They have a couple of nice pieces, but they need that really stalwart inside, and I think Ikem can come in and really be one of the best guards in the AFC in due time. Obviously, Quentin Nelson has that spot locked down, but I think Ikem, within a 3-4 year period, could be one of the best guards in football. He's just athletically gifted, and bring Tua some offensive linemen, and he's going to succeed quite a bit. Coming in with the 22nd overall pick is the Buffalo Bills, and I have them selecting Ahmad Gardner, a.k.a. Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati. For me, when you take a look at this roster, they have Tre'Davious White. They have Teron Johnson. They really don't need a corner, but this is going to be a team that will year in and year out be the Kansas City Chiefs' biggest foe. And we know that the Kansas City Chiefs want to air the ball all over the field. And in order to stop that, you need 3 really good corners. And Buffalo going out and get the 6'3" Sauce Gardner. I think that could be a great addition to Buffalo's defense and will allow them to compete with Kansas City for years to come. Now coming in at 23rd overall, I have the Detroit Lions with their second first-round pick, selecting DeMarvin Leal, interior lineman from Texas A&M. He is one of the most disruptive players in this year's draft. He's just an all-around great player. And like I said when they drafted Kayvon Thibodeaux, they want to build this thing through the trenches, and to come up with Kayvon Thibodeaux and Leal, those are going to be two big pieces of this team moving forward. And Dan Campbell's going to have him a very physical brand of football coming for everybody. And then the Cincinnati Bengals come in number 24 overall, selecting Charles Cross, the tackle from Mississippi State. They have a budding star in Joe Burrow. I really think he could be a top 5 quarterback in the next year and a half. And he needs protection. Jonah Williams is going to be a solid guard. They got Jackson Carman to play in a little guard, but everywhere else on that offensive line right now is a little bit garbage. I anticipate them going in free agency and grabbing a guard, just a guy who can come in and start. But if they go out and draft a tackle, I think Charles Cross gives them the best opportunity at the spot in which they will be picking to really fortify that offensive line and be one of the best units in the AFC as an offense. I mean, this guy is a really good player, and to go out and get him is going to be a big need for Cincinnati moving forward. Coming in at number 25 are the Dallas Cowboys. I have them selecting Daxton Hill, safety from Michigan. When you take a look at this team's back end, it's not bad, but there's not a number one true defensive back in that room. So if you come out and get Daxton Hill, who can do a lot of really good things in the run game as well in this pass game, I think you're going to be able to solidify a good unit into a great unit. They're still not going to have a number one guy on the back end, but Daxton Hill makes that unit a very deep and really solid group. So I think Dallas needs to go out and get a safety such as Daxton Hill. Then with the 26th pick, I have Devin Lloyd, the linebacker from Utah, going to Kansas City. This guy is one of the more impressive players in the draft. Over 100 tackles, 7 sacks, 3 picks, a touchdown. He does it all. But I think at the pro level, he's going to be more of that inside linebacker. I don't see him as a true edge player. He's going to play off ball, and Kansas City right now is really, they need an inside linebacker to play alongside of a couple of the young guys they have. So bringing in Devin Lloyd, a guy who can quite literally do it all, I think is going to be very good for this team moving forward. Number 27th overall is the Tennessee Titans, and I have them selecting Drake Jackson, edge player from USC. He's 250 pounds, more of that speed guy. Harold Landry's going to command a lot of money in free agency this year, and I don't know if Tennessee's going to be able to keep him around. So why not plan for the future and go out and get Drake Jackson, the excellent edge from USC. Following them are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I have them selecting Trent McDuffie from Washington, the corner. Tampa Bay's pass defense has been up and down all year. They've had to deal with a lot of injuries, and they do have a lot of solid players, Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting. But I think if you add another guy in there, this defense goes from good to great. We know what they can do in the run defense, but the pass defense, like I said, has been a little shaky. So you come in, grab a guy who's going to come in, immediately compete, and be one of their better defensive backs. I think this is a can't-miss pick for them. And at number 29 overall are the New England Patriots, and I have them selecting Georgia linebacker Nakobe Dean. He's an inside linebacker with great instincts. Bill Belichick knows how to build a defense, and if he can get his hands on this guy, this defense is going to be scary. They brought in Matthew Judon, who's already been one of their best players. They have a really young defense, so to bring in some more youth at that linebacker position is going to be a scary thing for people in the AFC, and I think Bill Belichick is going to love Nakobe Dean from Georgia. And then number 30th overall, the Green Bay Packers. It happens year in and year out. People start mocking wide receivers to the Green Bay Packers, and somehow or another they never take them. But as a Packer fan, I am pleading the Green Bay Packers to draft a wide receiver, and I want Jameson Williams from Alabama. He is a speedster. He will immediately take pressure off of Davante Adams with his speed. Davante is a great player, and he gets all the targets, rightfully so, but if you bring in Jameson Williams to really stretch the field and allow Aaron Rodgers to really use the downfield passing attack, this offense is going to be explosive. Not that it already is, but you add a guy with this amount of speed, this offense is going to be one of the best in the NFL. Then number 31 overall, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting South Carolina edge Kingsley Enagbare. He is really solid. he's going to be a really good player. When you take a look at his stats, it's not going to be the flashiest guy, but Baltimore knows how to pick these players and really develop them into good players. And I think he's going to be a great fit for the Baltimore Ravens. They really need some edge guys outside of Thibodeaux. He will come in and be one of their best edge players, period. And then to round out the first round, Arizona Cardinals selecting Trevor Penning, offensive tackle from Northern Iowa. He is a really, really technically sound player. And if Kyler Murray has dealt with a little bit of injury this season, so you want to keep your franchise quarterback upright. No better way to go out and get a tackle. This is one of the best teams in the NFL, and their offensive line is not on par with what they've been playing at. So you need to go out and get a really solid tackle, and I think Trevor Penning could be that for the Arizona Cardinals. So that has been my mock draft 1.0. There might be another one coming soon. We will see, but I will definitely be having more draft content in the coming months. So what do you think? Who should go number one? Who are your guys' favorite team? And did I get the draft order right? Let me know down below. But until then, I will see you guys next time.